Hello, everyone, and welcome to MONG Podcast, episode 86. I am your new host, Myles Farrington, and these are my co-hosts. They're on one side of my camera, I'm not sure which one. Adam Leonard,
Pleasure to be here.
there we go, and the spinning circle that is known as Jordan Loeffler?
It's Leffler. Oh man,
Leffler.
butchered it.
I'm sorry. I still go by the kindergarten rules of say it how it's spelled.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's
All
not
right.
the worst I've heard.
Oh, well, good. I would hate to be the worst because you could have reason to fire me, and I don't want that. All right, so everyone who is familiar with the Mom podcast, we come here to talk about games. Things have changed up a little bit, of course, because Courtney is no longer our host. Of course, I will try and carry on a good tradition for him. Um, so today, we're going to be going over news, guys. Have you heard of the news?
There is news. I know that it exists.
There is
It's
news.
out there
Yes.
doing things.
But first off, I guess I should mention some of the changes. For one, we're going to try and keep it to about an hour. So I have a nifty stopwatch, which I completely forgotten to turn on until now, and that's going to go up at an hour. So we'll be, kind of a little bit not as long-winded as before. Hopefully, maybe, who knows. But before that, do we have any plugs? Any site-wide events that we want to talk about?
There is one notable one.
Okay.
Right now we do have a giveaway going on for the Game of the Generation QTE. If you go listen to that, we mention it there, and it will soon be plastered all over the internet once Jordan gets a spare moment. And and it's basically going to be any game that is mentioned in that QTE that is mentioned as a possible contender for Game of the Generation. We want people to send us the most creative or, you know, the best arguments for what that Game of the Generation could be. Send them to contact.mong@gmail.com. And send us some pictures or drawings or what have you, anything that makes you think that it's an awesome game and you could win that game.
Awesome.
It's
Awesome.
as easy as that. We're also going to be throwing up any runners up and the winners onto the website into a post so everyone can see how amazing you are at telling people how great a game is.
Okay. All right. That's a pretty good deal. Everyone loves free games, especially
Absolutely.
games of the generation games.
Good games, great games.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and for anyone who might be hearing me a little bit softer, as I'm being told, than Jordan, I am sorry. This is our first time I'm doing this, so we'll get it right next time if it's not right this time.
I just have such a commanding voice. That's really what it is.
It's all the beard, man. It's all the beard.
Well, not that you can see it. Next time. Next time.
Yeah, next time. Everything is next time, people. First one is always the worst one, right? That's a thing people say, right? Or
That's hopefully, yeah.
is that
I
just
hope
me?
so. I really hope so.
All right, and is anything worthwhile happening beyond site stuff, just like in our personal lives? What's everybody playing? Or is anyone getting married? Is anyone getting divorced? Is anyone having kids? I don't know. What's happening in y'all's lives?
Adam, what do you got?
Uh, enjoying the summer. We've kind of hit that point where we're at the video game lull. I mean, things are going to get really big in a couple of months,
Hmm.
but right now we're kind of at a quiet period. So I've been just taking a moment, catching up on some stuff that I haven't got a chance to play before things get like real nuts in about a month or two from now.
Yeah.
That's a good plan. That's a very good
Yeah,
plan.
I've been playing a lot of stuff. And the people who out there who don't know, Adam and I both live in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's been awfully hot lately. It's gotten better. It has
God.
gotten better, but it's been pretty bad. So there's been a lot of time to play video games. Lately, I've been doing Bloodborne nonstop. It's been really, really bad. I have The Witcher 3 gathering dust. I've hardly touched it, and I
Hmm.
really want to. And I just am on a quest now to platinum Bloodborne. It's basically what it is.
That is a bold quest, sir.
I'm close. I'm really close.
Well,
I actually dug in. Oh, you go ahead, Miles.
no, go ahead. I have nothing to say. I've just been sitting here playing Binding of Isaac a lot and being very disappointed in myself. So,
I actually played a little bit of that. That game is actually really really cool.
definitely, definitely. All right.
I've actually been digging into Wolfenstein. Actually, they're finally getting around to play last year's Wolfenstein, and so far I'm actually pretty impressed with the story.
Oh,
Cool,
nice.
cool. Is that the New Order or the?
Yeah,
Okay,
New Order.
okay.
Very nice. Very nice. I heard that that one was very good and seemed like it surprised a lot of people when it came out.
Yeah, it definitely, like I said, it's definitely pretty story heavy, and so far the story's really intriguing. It definitely kind of walks a very, very fine line between being way too serious and like way too silly, but somehow manages to kind of pull it off.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to the chat, Andros Guile. Sup to you as well, boy. Uh, and if we have nothing else to say, we should probably get to the news from nowhere. Sound good?
News from
Yeah.
nowhere.
News from nowhere.
Well.
That was a nice team effort. I'm proud of us.
That was very
Mm-mm.
sensual sounding. There we
Feeling the
go.
chemistry.
All right, so our first piece of news is a sad piece, but it demands to be mentioned because
Mhm.
Satoru Iwata, a titan of his time in the gaming industry, has passed, as I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows about already. He was the CEO of Nintendo America, for anyone who didn't, and at the age of 55, he passed, and he left a monumental legacy for others to aspire to. Um, Apparently, he died of conditions with a tumor, and I felt like we would be doing our job a little bit of a disservice to not mention this at least.
Yeah.
Of course.
Um, so a quote that has been going around a lot from his GDC 2005 speech was, it seemed like it's a favorite of everyone, so I will quote it. On my business card, I am a corporate president. In my mind, I'm a game developer, but in my heart, I'm a gamer, and that's pretty. Those are good words for any developer to say, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Um, and he worked on some titles like Legend of Zelda, Mario, and Animal Crossing while he was at Nintendo. And I figured it would be fair for us to take a little bit extra Nintendo time since that's the inferior console.
Oh,
And
oh.
Shots
uh,
fired.
it's only fair for us to take a little bit of time and say, I guess, what is your favorite Nintendo memory? I probably should have mentioned this to you all before we got to podcast, but I didn't because I wasn't thinking about it. So this,
Well, another plug, sort of in a way. We're currently website wide working on something very similar to this. So anybody who wants to check out the website, in a couple of days, we're going to have a much more comprehensive look at the rest of the team's favorite Nintendo memories. But yeah, we could definitely dive into it amongst three of us. I've been thinking about it a little bit lately, and for me, like, Super Nintendo was my first console. Like I started playing that when I was 4 years old. My parents may have been a little, we'll say, misguided, but they they got that for me when I was 4, and I've been a gamer ever since, and it's just been a part of my life. Um, and to say that Nintendo has played a small part in what I aspire to become is a total understatement. I don't play Nintendo games nearly as much as I used to, but it's not due to lack of quality or respect. It's just I've ventured elsewhere, but I know where I came from. And I know the experiences that I loved and the experiences that I continue to love. There's still some great Nintendo games that come out that I cannot wait for. Zelda. Um, and when I heard the news, it was just like, wow, like brings you right back to where you came from, where gaming has come from, and where it's gone since then. It started there. Nintendo really brought gaming to the forefront, probably more than any other company. So
very, very true. What about you, Adam? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. I, much like Jordan, was a Nintendo kid. Grew up owning a NES when I was young, and then a Super NES. But my definitive Nintendo moment, there's like no question about it. If I could define one moment that basically sparked my like lifelong love affair with gaming and video games, it has to be when I was in high school during winter vacation. I rented Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time.
Hmm.
And that game, basically it had such an impact on me. I remember when I picked it up, I played it so much over winter break that it got to the point where I forcibly had to take a break because my hands were cramping simply from the amount of time I spent playing that game. That
That
game
was
is
easy.
like
That was easy to do on the N64, man.
yeah, with that controller, that is very very true.
True.
Um, it was just such a special game, and it's a game that it was a game that just made me fall in love with like the potential of video games and like the storytelling medium that is video games, and
Mhm.
it's something that still drives my passion for the industry to this day. I mean, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time is still a game that moves me very deeply, and I mean, really, I owe all of my continuing ventures in playing video games, writing about video games, talking about video games to that love affair that I had with that game back one winter many many years ago. So, I owe Nintendo a lot for my passion.
Yeah, I can honestly respect that. I'm sure that that's true for a lot of people. Like, no matter how much I bag and rag on Nintendo these days, they are where I started as well. The first game I played was Mortal Kombat 2, even though that game is god awful now. Uh, that was the first game I played back on like my dad's Super Nintendo, I think. Yeah, it had to be Super Nintendo. Um, and I wouldn't be playing games if it weren't for Nintendo as well. Um, I know like the only title that can make me buy a console every time a new one comes out is Pokemon, and and that says something for me because I don't like spending money that I don't have to, especially if it's money I've spent like 5 times already.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, Nintendo is just like a big part of every gamer's lives, even if I feel like it is. Even if they want to say that it's not, like even the PlayStation fanboys, Nintendo's a big part of your lives because you wouldn't have PlayStation if not for
Right.
Nintendo burning them way back when.
Yeah.
And it still says something that I'm willing to drop several $100s on a console, even though I maybe use it only once or twice a year. But I'm willing to totally buy a Nintendo console just for like a total of maybe 8 games total, possibly in its lifetime. But that's enough that I will still invest that money for when they do their Zelda and their Mario and etc.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And like, I always say it, if they want me to buy a Wii U, all they have to do is put Pokemon on it. That's all they have
Yeah.
to do. Make a 3D Pokemon, and I will buy a Wii U. So, now that our Nintendo moment has passed, that's all the spotlight they're gonna get for this podcast. Meh, nah. I figure it's time for us to move on to the next biggest piece of news, which is the fact that Hideo Kojima and like everyone else have not made up for anything yet, apparently. uh,
Yeah.
if you're wondering what I'm talking about, the Hideo Kojima and his team have been removed from the NGS5 box art again, right? This is the second time this happened.
Well, it was originally, I think, taken off of the website, the official website for Metal Gear Solid 5.
Okay, okay.
And from there, it went very quiet with everything. That's kind of what I think what really started all these rumors about what was going on there.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, this is the next the next step, I guess.
now, what are you all like? What's your opinion on this? Because it seems to me that it's a silly kind of squabble. Because like, as I understand it, he is still working on the game, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's and his name is so big. You think it would actually be a boon for them to keep it on there. Like people know Hideo Kojima. They know Metal Gear Solid. I'm not going to say that Metal Gear Solid can't be sold without Hideo because it clearly can. But you think they'd just be like, okay, this is your last one. We'll keep your name on there just to keep everybody happy, and then afterwards we'll make it like a nice little clean break. That'll be that. But it's just like it just keeps getting blown out of proportion.
I want to believe that there is some sort of like legal issue at work here that like they have to remove these things in order for them to continue selling it after the team leaves. Although I can't think of a reason why that would be so.
Hmm.
And so I really have been seeing it as just that, as like a petty squabble. And like we don't know the exact events that have led to what's happened here. And we probably won't for a long time, if ever. But I would say that I mean I like Hideo Kojima a lot. I think he's brilliant, but I can also see where he can maybe be a little narcissistic. And
Yeah.
to say that he can't be difficult is probably you know un, unfair to Konami. So
Sure.
there very easily could have been something going on there that they just had a disagreement, and it's blown up into this whole thing, and sucked, unfortunately, some good titles, PT, the Silent Hills. It sucked it into this void, and post development for Metal Gear Solid 5 will be interesting. We'll see what kind of DLC comes out of that. But without that team there, I think they are going to have to really sell Metal Gear from here on out. Like, for me, I'm a hardcore Metal Gear fan. I love the series.
Hmm.
Without Hideo Kojima and without his director, without his creative direction, I really need to see the quality of a game if I'm gonna buy the next one after this, after MGS5.
Okay.
I won't try to go out and say like Hideo Kojima is like perfect or anything like that. I mean, I can point at even like the best of the middle Gear Solid games, and there are definitely moments where he gets a little bit into his own genius, perhaps is the word,
Yeah,
and just makes some like really bizarre choices. Or you're like, what is this doing here in this game? But
Hmm.
generally speaking, the rest of it's so awesome that you can kind of forgive it.
right.
But I just can't, I mean, I can't, like I agree, Jordan. There might be some valid reasons for what's going on here, but I just can't really fathom what's going on here. I mean, it's kind of sad because we're almost kind of watching in my opinion, Konami like kind of imploding a little bit
Hmm.
Yeah,
because like they're giving up a lot. Because I mean, Hideo Kojima is kind of like a cash cow for them. I mean, anything he makes, people will buy.
Hmm.
And it's such a tragedy that Silent Hills became like a victim of all of this because that game had so much promise and that game would have sold so well.
Hmm.
yeah,
All I can see about the situation is, regardless of whether it's Konami's fault, whether it's Kojima's fault, I think we can agree kind of like the outcome is that the gamers kind of lose on this one.
yeah,
Definitely. Definitely. I, I don't know. It's just like there aren't, I don't really I wasn't the biggest fan of Metal Gear Solid, but I completely understand what you all are saying. Hideo was kind of eccentric, it seems.
mhm.
Not I use that in the least offensive manner I can because the man has made many gamers and everyone else happy alike. Like he's done some amazing stuff. But
No, it's totally fair, man. I mean, like, the games are bizarre and like just out there, but like, yeah, it takes that kind of person in order to make something like that. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
no, I could like it just seems like at this point the only game that is possibly more complicated is Kingdom Hearts. Like one of those
Yeah.
series that's just like you
Yeah,
have to have played everything to know what's happening, and you still might not know what's happening. To be fair,
yeah,
um, but honestly, I'm kind of excited. Not that Hideo and Konami are having issues, because that I would never say I'm excited to hear that a developer and the brain
the
behind their
publisher.
biggest series are having issues. But I am kind of excited to see who takes over. And honestly, I played Metal Gear Solid 4 from beginning to finish. I watched through that whole hour-long cutscene at the end, and I was just sitting there scratching my head like, I know the basics of what happened, but beyond that, I don't know what I just did and what kind of, monumental uh, results this is going to have. So I'm kind of excited to see someone else get their hands on the story and see if they can possibly make it a little bit more down to earth. Like,
Yeah, a lot more.
yeah.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you, Miles, because actually I'll admit that the first Metal Gear Solid I beat was Metal Gear Solid 4.
Mm.
And so I had absolutely no idea what was going on in that game. Like, I knew that whatever I was witnessing was definitely like really epic and awesome, and it was enough to get me to go back and play the rest of them, but I was so lost that game.
Definitely, definitely. I was more intrigued as to why a Snake was 30 something in that game, right?
Yeah,
Anybody know?
something like
Okay.
that.
Mhm.
He was
Yeah,
30, but he looked like he's 70. I was
right.
more confused as to why a man that old looking was wearing those like tight booty pants suit thing. Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I can.
Like
I mean, I could go into detail about it. We'd be here forever.
Well, let's not do that. I don't think that's the kind of podcast that people are tuning in for. But
You
just
gotta play like the most like epic like franchise of all time, and you're greeted with like the first half an hour of watching like some old guy smoke himself to death.
exactly.
And his
Um,
bumpy ass too. Like,
yeah,
I mean, let's face it, it is a bumpy ass.
yes, exactly. Like I don't want to be sneaking and see that. It's just kind of weird, and it made me feel uncomfortable. But
You gotta fall in love with Solid Snake in the earlier games in order to really appreciate
mhm.
his butt crack in the fourth one. I mean, like that's really what it is all about. You've gone through 3 previous games of Snake butt, and now he's old and decrepit, and like you're stuck with him. Like it's just like it's like a marriage that's just gone sour,
Oh man.
and he's old, and there's no sex drive there anymore. It's just
Well,
sagging.
we now know the title of Metal Gear Solid 6. Metal Gear Solid 6: The Secret Butt Crack. Um,
Sag, yes.
all right, but moving on from butt cracks, because not everyone wants to hear about us talk about old man butt for too long.
Oh
Um,
well, we'll see.
I honestly, I just thought about it, but the like humor in Metal Gear Solid, that was mostly Hideo, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to say what was him and what was maybe other writers in a writer's
Mhm.
room, but yeah, I would say he's definitely, from what I can tell, he has a pretty solid sense of humor, and a lot of the quirkiness of the Metal Gear series seems to have been from him.
Yeah, man. I would not want to see that go away. I admit that was one of my favorite parts about Metal Gear Solid. Like, not necessarily playing through the games, but just seeing what nonsensical things happened during them. Like the part where uh, the one soldier who didn't take the shots or something at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 4.
Mhm,
Right,
It's
mhm.
been a couple years. Yeah, when he gets diarrhea, like I know that's a very 5-year-old thing to laugh at, but I laughed really hard at that. That was funny to me.
you gotta you gotta love any game that can go from like the horrors of the military-industrial complex to
Exactly.
a storyline about a guy who shits himself uncontrollably.
Poop
Exactly.
jokes.
They make every adult thing better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, does anyone? Do either of you have anything else to say about the this little controversy that's been going on for a bit too long now?
Well, no, not really.
What
I
about
mean,
you, Adam?
I thought it was gone, and now it's back. It's just
No,
sad.
no.
I'm ready to stop hearing about it and to play Metal Gear Solid 5.
Hell yes.
Yeah, come on September 1st.
That's honestly that's usually how I feel about the Last Guardian. So I'm happy that's finally coming out. Uh, But speaking of PT, since we did speak of PT, uh, if you didn't know, Lilith Limited has begun working on the closest thing we will get to it, which is called Allison Road. It is another horror game, and I quote, "In Allison Road, you will take on the role of the unnamed protagonist who wakes up one day without any recollection of prior events. Over the course of 5 nights, it is your objective to uncover the whereabouts of your family, unravel the mysteries of the house, and face off against Lily and other dark entities that are nested nested deep within the walls. While the clock is relentlessly ticking towards 3 a.m., that's the witching hour for anyone who's not as geeky as I am. I don't have many friends. But Allison Road is currently in pre-alpha and is looking as photorealistic and horrifyingly beautiful as PT did. Now, have you two heard about this game or seen any of the, I guess, screenshots or I think there was a short gameplay trailer?
There was about 13 minutes worth of gameplay.
Oh, not short. Never mind. I didn't watch the
Yeah.
whole thing. What about you, Jordan?
I don't know. This is sort of where I have a weird disconnect with horror games. So PT, I was super excited about.
Mm-hmm.
What I was saying is that I was really excited for PT because it had Norman Reedus, Guillermo del Toro, and Hideo Kojima, like all great minds and great talent that I really appreciate. And um, I don't play horror games though. Like I just don't. They freak me out way too much. I have like this sense of empathy for the character that I'm playing as. It's just like weird, I guess. Like
Uh-huh.
because every time I think something's gonna happen, it pops out at me, and I, you know, don't want to die. Like I don't have that experience in any other game. I'm okay with my character dying in any other game, but horror games, that's not okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And so generally speaking, I don't play them. PT was gonna, or Silent Hills was gonna be like the one game that was gonna be different for me. I was really, really tempted to pick it up because of those names. Now, with this, which a lot of people are comparing to Silent Hills and PT, like kind of like a spiritual successor, or at least what people want. I've been paying almost no attention to. So like I saw this and like had Silent Hills and PT up next to it, and I was like, man, I wish Silent Hills was still coming out, and then I just ignored it.
Okay, and what were your thoughts on I guess this is a general thing. We can talk about the cancellation of PT as well as Allison Road.
Actually, I was impressed with what I saw. I definitely see the comparison to PT, but also I think that there's another comparison. Definitely, when I watched like the 13.5 minutes worth of footage, is it also bears a certain amount of resemblance to Gone Home. I don't know if either of you guys have played Gone Home, which was a really, really good game.
I've not played.
Because basically you're kind of like dropped into this house without any explanation, and then you're really kind of allowed to explore and pick things up and look at things, and that's very much kind of in the vein of what Gone Home was, because it was kind of like an exploration based game where you kind of learn the story as you explore your surroundings. And so it's definitely got that element, and then things start to get creepy real quick, I guess, and then it becomes kind of PT-ish. I did like it because it definitely has. It kind of like what I like in any good like horror story or like horror novel is I think that it's nice to get a sense of normalcy at the beginning to kind of build up your expectation for when things get weird. I think PT definitely just started kind of at weird and just kind of continued to go weirder. It did feel a little bit like with this game, however, that there is kind of a sense of normality, that it starts out looking more or less like a normal house, and then slowly you kind of get this dread as things get like a little creepier and creepier, and then you're kind of dragged into this scenario. So, from what I've seen, I'm definitely excited, and I definitely hope that we'll find out more about it soon.
Well, it sounds like I think this is that studio's first game, I believe. So,
Hmm.
high hopes that it'll be amazing, especially to fill the void that PT left. Because
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm sure they hate being compared to a playable
Right.
teaser. But I mean that was a very I'm not gonna say niche because there are a bunch of horror games, but PT was something special. And
Right.
Yeah.
honestly, if they can fill what PT left, then they should be very proud. You know.
Yeah, I definitely think it's high praise.
Mhm.
Just because it's a playable trailer doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, like it won awards.
True.
I don't remember what we gave it, but like for 2014, we awarded it like biggest surprise or
It's high
something like
Right.
that.
Mhm.
Just because it's a playable trailer
and it's
doesn't
it's
necessarily
worthy of that. I feel like it was free and it could last up to like 5 hours if you weren't looking at up like how to beat it.
Definitely.
Um,
Definitely.
it felt like a full game,
Mhm.
and it almost had a full story too. So I think that comparing it to PT is high praise for any horror game that's aspiring to be something similar to it.
See, now we're gonna move away from zombies and just move into PT. It won't. It's like roguelike from now on, just PT like.
Yeah.
Oh god, that would be horrible. Every horror game just as bad as PT.
Good, you mean just as good?
Well, good as in like, yeah, this is great. This actually horrifies me. Bad as in because I won't be able to sleep ever again. That.
Right.
Any other thoughts on Allison Road? I mean, of course, we know it's shaping up to be pretty amazing. It's gorgeous. That is true through and through. That game is like photorealistic as sin.
Yeah, that was really impressive for like an alpha build.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like I know when I was playing the Destiny Alpha with Courtney and Lou. I believe it was Lou or Courtney. I'm not gonna say names. There you go. I've said names so many times it doesn't matter. That they said that like this is an alpha game and they're like apologizing it and it's better than some games that are already out. Like, has
Yeah.
anyone noticed that trend that like alpha is, albeit there are games that are alpha and like you pay for them and they're not as good as they should be, but there are games that are alpha and apologize for that even though they're amazing already.
Right.
I think it's a combination of the temperament and style of the developer, and also the state which the game is in development. I mean, like obviously not all games that reach alpha are equal.
Mm.
But also, I feel like more developers are a little bit more modest or humble about their development cycle. So that's probably the difference that you're seeing in there.
Yeah.
Though it's kind of sad that we have like such privileged gamers that a lot of these people have to apologize for that free access they gave us to check out their game before it actually launches. I mean, that's
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean that is our fan base.
Well, but that's also quickly disappearing. I mean, like, and not necessarily with alpha, but with beta tests and stuff like that, you have to pre-order the game in order to get it.
True.
I
Right.
mean, and I don't think that I still agree with you. I don't think that people should be getting all self-righteous about it just because they got early access to a game and it wasn't as good as they anticipated when it's still in development. But they are sort of getting into dangerous territory where they're offering these incentives for pre-ordering that might end up actually causing someone to cancel their pre-order.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily agree with pre-ordering a video game, but from a business perspective, it might not be the most sound move.
True. True. I know the worst thing about pre-ordering now these days is just like the fact that every store has their own thing. And it's like conceivably if you wanted to get every extra piece of content, which trust me, folks, as someone who's been burned on this constantly, it's normally not worth it. You'd have to pay like extra hundreds of dollars just to get everything, which, as I said, is not worth it. But c'est la vie. Uh, so, are we ready to move on to the next story, gents?
Yes.
All
Let's
right,
do it.
this will probably be the last story we can cover, unless we can like cover what 3 stories in 20 minutes, which who knows? We might pull off some magic.
Well, let's
So
see what happens.
I'll leave it up to a vote. Do we want to cover the Hearthstone expansion? The Shenmue III Kickstarter has hit the funding milestone of making physical copies, or Dead Island 2 developer removed from project.
I think Dead Island 2 is kind of blew me out of the water today. Actually,
Okay.
I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I'm willing to talk about that. That's probably the thing I'm most opinionated about.
Sounds all right, because I don't care about Hearthstone either.
Yeah, all right.
So, as you heard, viewers, Dead Island 2 developer has been removed from the project, and I'm speaking of Jaeger. I completely forgot what game they made already. Does anyone remember?
Spec Ops, the line.
That was it. Spec Ops: The Line. Thank you. So Deep Silver is going to continue working on Dead Island 2, though no new development team has been announced. I admit I didn't really read about this story, so I'm not as into or up to date on what all this means. So someone else can inform me, maybe, as I read up on this while we talk.
Adam, you said you want to talk about it, so
Well, it sounds like details are still kind of forthcoming, but as we mentioned, let me just pull up the story here. Sorry.
here, I'll just read the quote that goes with it right now.
Yeah, you go read that quote.
Sounds good.
Okay, so this was from publisher Deep Silver talking to IGN. They said, with Dead Island 2, Deep Silver has always been dedicated to delivering the sequel that Dead Island fans deserve. After careful consideration today, we announced that the decision to part ways with developer partner Jaeger. We will continue working towards bringing our vision of Dead Island 2 to life, and we will share further information at a later stage.
Okay. What is it with development studios and just not being friendly with others?
I don't know. I mean, I gotta believe that this is gonna prolong the development cycle of
Definitely.
Dead Island. I mean, like coming into a project for another developer now, like they're not gonna do it from the ground up. They have to work with what's already been established, and
Right.
that's gonna be quite a feat. I don't know. I don't know what that's gonna mean for the game itself. It'll be really interesting to see what the end result is.
True.
Well, here's kind of the problem I see. It makes me almost wonder, whether we're going to see Dead Island 2, and if we do, is it going to be something very different? Because right now they have to give us a reason to want Dead Island 2. And here's the problem that I see: is Techland made Dead Island 1 and came to a lot of hype, but then the game had some complimentable parts to it, but didn't quite live up to what people hoped it would be. Techland goes off on their own and basically makes another game in the exact same style and kind of nails their formula in Dying Light.
Yeah.
So now, essentially, the Deep Silver's trying to make, unless they're doing something really radically different, they're basically trying to make another game in the exact style of a game that we just got.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of like, what are you going to do to set this, this Dead Island 2 apart from what was a very strong game in Dying Light?
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm honestly very curious about what, like, they didn't give a formal statement of why they split, which we know, but I'm very curious as to why they would have, because as I remember, Spec Ops: The Line may not have been like the most revolutionary game, but that story was amazing.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely it was.
just like no spoilers, stuff hits the fan, things are flipped on their head in Spec Ops: The Line, even though it's been like what 8 years and you could have played it now if you're worried
Well,
about spoilers.
somebody's gonna hear about it and they're gonna go play it now. So let's just.
Yeah,
Arguably Spec Ops, I think, has one of the best stories in modern gaming, really. And,
definitely.
yeah. Mhm.
Especially for something that, let's be honest, it looks a little bit like Call of Duty. So, especially for something like that.
Yeah, like it felt like it didn't get the praise it deserved because everything else about it seems so generic. Like you're playing yet another like shoot 'em up war game, but there was like this amazing story hidden behind its kind of generic looking facade.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that just goes to say that like Jaeger, I mean, they're not the best developer, but they made that game and that game was pretty solid. So it's like,
Right.
what exactly do you all think would have caused Deep Silver to say, you guys are, and it's been like 2 years since Dead Island 2 was announced, correct?
Mm.
Something like that.
Yeah. So it's far into
Yeah.
development.
It was at E3 2014, right? Or
Yeah. That's I
2014 was
believe
1
where I
year.
saw it.
Okay, so it's been a year. Not bad. Uh, but it's been a year into development, and they're just now saying, "Sorry, guys, you're not doing this right. Something about what you're doing, even though you, well, okay, I guess I couldn't say even though you're a good developer, because Gearbox did make that Aliens game that no
Oh
one likes.
yeah.
Um, but just I can't help but be curious when I hear things like this, and they're like, we're not going to give a specific reason, and they list things like we're trying to make the sequel that Dead Island fans deserve. And it's like, were they trying to change it that much? What do you guys?
Well, I think it's fair to say that the game was probably in a stage of development before they even announced it. So it's
Right.
probably even more than a year in development by this point. But I gotta think that there were missed deadlines or something like that. Like
Hmm.
there was stuff going on where they just weren't making progress on it for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And I mean that would make it a little bit easier, I feel like, to hand it off to another developer because they don't have to fit into all of the formulas that the previous developer was working on.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still going to be. I know it's got to be difficult to do that regardless. But I don't know. That's what I think was going on. I think with Jaeger and the way that they were able to do Spec Ops: The Line, they have definitely shown that they can create a good product,
Mhm.
um, and that there had to have been something else going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Well, maybe they felt the need to radically change the direction of the game, and they felt that Jaeger wasn't the studio to do it.
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, and another thing, I didn't play Dying Light, but I always got the impression after. Okay, so I played Dead Island,
Hmm.
and when I picked it up, it was long after the game had already come out. But like my impression of it was that that first trailer is a very dramatic trailer. Like everybody kind of was fooled by that originally.
Right.
I
Right.
was too. And so playing that, like it didn't have any of that, like emotion and drama,
Yeah.
and which what I was expecting. And it kind of seemed like it had a little bit of a comedic element. I never played it all the way through, but I mean, it seemed like they were going for humor in some places.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Was
think that's
Dying Light
fair.
that way?
No, Dying Light was like a pretty serious game. I'd say. I mean, okay, I could think of there are a couple of moments of levity, but it's not. I would not consider it a particularly light game.
Mhm.
Okay, so then maybe I mean with the new trailer they've come on and they know how these trailers work now. I mean, like I think they learned their lesson with the first one.
I would definitely hope
Um,
so.
with the new trailer that came out, which was plastered all over the internet when it was announced, I would hope that that's the level of humor, that's the hamminess, like the ham that they're trying to put in there.
Mm.
And maybe they were trying to do it, wasn't working, or maybe they weren't doing it enough, or maybe there's some. I gotta believe there's something with tone going on here that they're really trying to nail to set themselves apart from Dying Light. Because if we think of Dying Light and Dead Island, they're obviously both going to be very similar games, like gameplay wise.
Right.
But other than that, like, they need to find something else, and I think it's going to be tone.
True, true. But yeah, in terms of that trailer, maybe they're trying to like turn us and like throw us on our heads, and maybe they made that really funny, and the game is actually gonna be like the first trailer. Like,
Yeah.
no one would be happy with that, but maybe that'll happen. But
That'd be cool.
it would be
Hmm.
cool because I think a lot of people really, really wanted that like really heart wrenching, feel that they had from the
Right.
first trailer. And we know everyone knows they messed up a little bit on that, but it would be interesting to see a game like that. But maybe this isn't the time. I'm not sure.
Well, I think Dying Light's got some of that in it. I think Dying Light has a lot more investment in the characters,
Mm,
and as a result, I do think you get a little more a little more of an emotional attachment to what goes on in Dying Light.
mm. Okay, well, I mean, I guess if it comes out and it's bad, then they can just be like, "Hey, go play Dying Light. Ignore that this happened." Just like the other, what is it? The Dead Island extinction game,
Riptide.
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 Yeah, because no one talks about that.
Shh, we're not supposed to talk about it.
I tried to play it for 5 minutes through PlayStation Now, and then like never touched it again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's probably a good thing that you did that. You probably are a better man for not having played that game through.
Well, Deep Silver, if you're looking for a new developer, I did hear that Hideo Kojima's looking for work, so
Oh, oh.
Honestly, not to completely just go back to that, but I'm surprised that no one has gone and been like, "Hey, Hideo, you still want to make that game? Because we will gladly help you make that game."
yeah, no kidding.
Because
Well,
they
you
would.
never know. I mean, like, he could definitely have gotten that offer. They might not be all that vocal about it yet, but I think he's probably going to be starting up his own thing. Not necessarily with Silent Hills, but probably a separate franchise.
Mm, probably,
I was
probably.
actually disappointed. I actually put one of my E3 predictions. I was really hoping that somebody like Microsoft, Sony, or some other company was going to step
Mm.
forward and say like, "Hey, we just bought the rights to Silent Hill." So,
That would
Yeah, even though Konami's not using it, I don't think that's going to happen.
yeah, unfortunately, they're gonna like port it
Yeah,
because boo,
because
Konami.
yeah,
because 10 years from now they're gonna try it again, I guess.
yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, that will be a showstopper if someone had come out and just been like, "PT, we've got it. Guess how many of our consoles just sold?" But
My
yeah.
God.
all right, but we still have a bit of time. We can probably pick another topic. Do anyone have a second favorite? Shenmue, maybe, because no one cares about Hearthstone because it's a
I
bad game.
I actually do play Hearthstone a little. I'm
Okay.
not gonna. I mean, like, I'm not that interested in that story because I don't pay for it at all.
Mm,
But no, we can skip that. I'm more interested in Shenmue.
Yeah, let's go to Shenmue.
sounds good. Shenmue it is. This is how democracy runs. Yeah.
With unanimity.
America.
So, everyone who there's probably a lot of people listening to this who are too young to know what Shenmue is, to be honest. But Shenmue 3's Kickstarter has hit the funding milestone where they will be making physical copies. And of course, this game was originally supposed to be digital only, or that's what it seemed like. With a funding of $60 or more, you can get your hands on the physical copy. And at the moment, it appears that the physical copies are only available to Kickstarter participants. That is kind of it. It seems like it's not odd at all, but that seemed kind of out there to me because I thought about the used game market and how odd that will be for a retailer to get a copy of Shinmu physically.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It's kind of funny.
It's just like you backed this and then you're trading it in. What? Because but so did
Where does the money go?
Have either of you had experience with Shenmue?
I played some of it a long, long time ago,
Hmm.
and I think the truth of the matter is I wasn't probably old enough, or at least far enough in my kind of gaming progression to appreciate it,
Uh-huh.
to be honest.
What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I actually I have zero experience with Shenmue. But what interests me most about the story is just like the Kickstarter aspect of it and um, how much backing it's gotten so quickly is really impressive, but also frightening.
Hmm.
Because what happens if it's bad?
Yeah, yeah. I
Um, and not even just for that game's outlook, but now that is going to be an outlook that people have on every Kickstarter game. Remember Shenmue 3?
I just like to point out
Never
one of our viewers just asked who's Shamu in our in our Twitch feed.
I don't know who Shamu is. I think they cycle Shamu out every once in a while at SeaWorld, so
Probably.
your guess is as good as mine.
Let
I would totally kickstart Shenmue if Shamu was actually the lead character. If you could just like be like a whale going around looking for sailors,
just destroy
That
the
would
driving
city.
a forklift.
Yeah,
Uh,
he hunts down the like SeaWorld captives.
that would be a wonderful game that probably a lot more people could relate to. But
Shamu the third.
Shenmue the Third. But yeah, I mean, this whole title is I feel like it's gonna it sets a precedent, honestly. As like for one, it wasn't the first Kickstarter title on shown at E3, was it? I think I feel like Mighty Number Nine that happened.
Oh
Completely
yeah.
forgot
Hmm.
about that. Didn't have the same situation as Shenmue 3, but still. Um, but yeah, I if anything, I guess it shows that over all these years of people asking when Shenmue 3 is happening, I guess they can finally say that it's like, yes, we actually want this to happen because you have 3 million of our dollars now.
Well,
I mean,
there's that, and I think also there's something to be said about how it seems that popular opinion is starting to drive the industry a little bit more than it
Hmm.
used to. I mean, look at Final Fantasy VII Remake.
true.
Uh, and a number of other games that were announced at E3. But I think developers are really starting to pay attention to that. And I mean, obviously, if people are asking for it, if enough people are clamoring for it, there's a demand for it and there's money to be made there.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, what's going on in the chat? What is going on?
I am sorry for my friends. I will go ahead and apologize for them.
With your gold scale scoop neck ass.
It is a thing. Ignore it. um, but yeah, it seems like honestly I'm kind of I know that they have their Kickstarter. That is a
Hmm.
thing, but I kind of wonder how well the game is going to do when it actually comes out for people who didn't kickstart it, honestly. Because if you think about it, the only person I know that actually played Shenmue was my cousin. And I actually don't know why he latched onto that game so hard, but he seemed to enjoy that game beyond all reasonable belief. Um, I'm kind of wondering, is this going to be a game that appeals mainly to uh, I I honestly don't know. Like, who would this game appeal to coming out now? Even back then, I don't know who it was appealing to because I remember there is a Penny Arcade comic that came out recently where it's like the two main characters and they're talking about it. It's like, you remember when we drove the forklift? Oh man, I worked as a hot dog salesman for 5 weeks. That was amazing. And they're like one of their kids is just sitting there like, are we talking about a video game? Is this actually a game? And it made a good point. It's like, who is going to buy this beyond the
Well,
people who already love Shinmu?
yeah, I was just gonna say the people who already love Shenmue are gonna be playing it. I think it's getting a lot of hype for how successful it's been on Kickstarter. I think a lot of people have been made interested in this game. I knew nothing about Shenmue. I didn't even know that a game called Shenmue existed before Shenmue 3.
Really,
Um, yeah, this has never been on my radar.
I can completely understand that.
And just to like give you guys, I just looked it up. It's almost at $5 million. right now.
Wow.
Oof.
Its original goal was $2 million, and I just saw it go up. I mean, it's ridiculous how much money has gone into this. I mean, there's obviously, I mean, that alone tells you that there's an audience for it. Apart from the people who were clamoring for it, like it has almost $5 million of Kickstarter backing. It has popular backing.
I think it will also appeal to people like to kind of refer to as like maybe video game historians. There are a lot of people who like to look back at what was important in the past and maybe some play through some of this stuff so they can have a more comprehensive knowledge of video gaming history. I think what's kind of important, especially if they want to try to boost sales for Shenmue 3, is I think it's kind of important that they're going to want to really think about trying to get some kind of remaster out on the first two to give people a chance to play the first couple of games in an accessible way.
Definitely.
Hopefully to be able to bring people into the point where they're going to be interested in playing a Shenmue 3.
Exactly. That game is so story dependent that like if you try, I feel like if you try and jump into the third one, unless they have like some amazing recap over the first two, you're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
like, who is this guy? Why do I care about his dad? Oh, his dad's dead. I didn't even know that. Because spoilers, those of you who don't know, Shinmu is trying to find the guys that killed his dad. So that's the thing.
Why is he
Awesome.
driving his forklift? We
Yeah,
got to know these answers.
exactly. I don't even know why he was driving a forklift. Honestly, I don't remember most of that story at this point.
I'm
Um,
learning through every moment of this discussion.
I think he was like took a job at the docks to find some sailors. I know it was a big thing that you had to find the sailors for a while, and yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in the third one you'll finally find the sailors if you didn't already.
yeah.
Did you find? Also, I'm wondering now, are they going to end it here, or are they going to try and drag it out and make like Shenmue 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or also a good question is we saw an issue happen with the Broken Saga story. I keep forgetting what that game is called. I think it was the Tim Schafer game that got a lot of backing.
Oh, Broken Age.
Broken Age, thank you. I knew it
Mhm.
wasn't what I was trying to say. Uh, but honestly, we saw how that game kind of suffered a little bit from getting a little bit too much money. I know that sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but that drew out the development times. It made them completely. As I heard, they went with like a completely different engine for the graphics, just because they were like, "You gave us so much money, we feel like we have to, you know,
Hmm.
we have to make more because you gave us way more money than we expected." And I kind of hope this doesn't turn into an issue where it's like, Shinmu, the last one was Dreamcast years ago. That's how long. And I don't want to see this one be like, well, we'll have it to you by the time the PlayStation 6 is out.
Was Shenmue 2 a Dreamcast game or was that a PlayStation game?
I believe it was Dreamcast because I remember my cousin had to go find a Dreamcast to play it. But let me check on that. Or was it Xbox? It was Xbox. My bad.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I definitely remember having Shenmue on Dreamcast. It had like 5 discs or something huge like that.
Mm,
Um,
yeah. It's just like it. Honestly, there's so many questions surrounding this game right now for me. I cannot possibly try and predict anything that's going to happen. Like, is it going to come out and be a flop, or is it going to come out and then like we'll see people wearing Shinmu T-shirts, just shirt that says "I need to find the man that killed my dad."
The
You know,
sailors.
yeah, the
yeah.
sailors hunt the sailors.
Want to
It's
play a game of Lucky Hit? I think.
pachinko.
So wait, so then Shenmue, like the Shenmue franchise, has basically gone around the world. Like they started out on a Sega console, then it went for a sequel on an Xbox console. Now it's coming home for the trifecta on the Sony console. That's kind of impressive.
Apparently, he has had a long search to find his father's murderer. It has been a
Yes.
very long time.
He's gonna find out that it was actually next door to him the entire time.
That would be
He's gonna feel
very
like an idiot.
that'd be very disappointing, honestly. Just
Yeah.
like gamers are just like, it took you 20 years to give me this. What is this? What is this? Oh man. But all trash talk aside, it'll probably be amazing. Anyone who really likes Shinmu and is watching this.
I hope it's a good game. I think it'll be good. I'm really interested mostly. Maybe I'll play it at some point. who knows? Like, I again have no really interest in playing it because I don't know anything about it, but I'm mostly interested in its success. I really would like to see it do well, and I want to see how well it does.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully. Now, I sense that we're done with the Shenmue talk. Is this correct?
Yes, I've Shenmued myself
So,
out.
yeah.
We are Shenmued out. So, for the sake of our chat, because they are demanding, do either of you have opinions on Mass Effect?
I
Love
got
Mass Effect.
Okay, good. We can talk about Mass Effect for the next 6 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so personally, I'm a huge fan of the series. I think they dropped the ball a little bit at the ending of 3, but
Eh.
that is, I'm not one of the people that thought they had to go back and change it, but I was a little disappointed. I'll be honest. So, what are people's thoughts on that?
on the
Um,
ending.
Not specifically ending the whole series. We're gonna generalize everything since this isn't actually a topic.
Okay.
Amazing story on the most epic level. I think I thought the ending to 3 was a little bit wonky, but I wasn't as off put as some people because I thought the 3 had just so many amazing moments and payoffs for all these characters you've played literally like hundreds of hours with.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. I see the question in the chat. Miranda or Tally?
Uh,
It's
that
Tally.
that is a
Tally, nope.
universal question that is not meant to be answered, just like Doctor Who. Oh man, but yeah, it's So I guess the better way to make this a little bit more topical. What did you all think of what we saw of Mass Effect Andromeda at E3? Assuming you all saw the trailer.
Yes. Um, Still, it's still hard to say because it was so limited. I mean, like, I'm not worried because it's BioWare. They got this.
Yeah.
I'm super fascinated to see what's next because like the BioWare universe is such a rich universe that they could really do any number of things, and I don't really care what they do. I'm like all in.
Hmm.
Um, I was excited they gave us the release window next holiday. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
I'm not really in the boat of it's BioWare, like they can't fail. But like they are my favorite developer. I love the things that they come out with. Like, but they did come out with Dragon Age 2.
Mhm.
True.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
while I did like it, I'm one of the few that actually liked that game.
Hmm.
Um, it wasn't the greatest, and they've made some similar mistakes in the past as well. I'm willing to give this new Mass Effect a little bit more time before I make any judgment on it. I would really like to learn a little bit more about it. I think there's not nearly enough information on it right now, so
Definitely. Definitely.
I
Um,
abstain.
what are your What's your biggest hope for Mass Effect Andromeda? Personally, I was just extremely happy that we're not going back to the Turian War. I was very
Yep.
happy they decided not to do that. Honestly, I just hope that I can be another race. I would love to be a Krogan, even though I
Yeah,
probably
that's
won't be
cool.
able to
Yeah.
be. But that's my hope. Either of you have anything on top of your
Is it
head?
confirmed? Is it confirmed Shepard is out?
It's confirmed that this is taking place at the same time, and that you might see some people that you saw with Shepard, and hear about events that happen with Shepard, but he will not be in
Okay, I don't want him in it at all.
there. Just Shepard hater.
Yeah, kind of.
Maybe a different tone. Maybe it's not so focused. Your mission's not so focused on trying to save the entire galaxy.
Mm,
So
Yeah.
maybe like a little more specific. Um, it'd also be cool if like you could have party members if they introduce some of the races that you saw a bunch, but you know never were party members. It'd be cool to have some party members that are some of the other species that you didn't get to really have, like
you
an
want?
Elcor.
I knew that was coming.
Or I really like whatever like the little like financiers, like the little guys that've got like the masks.
Mm,
Oh
You could do some
yeah.
interesting things by like by adding in some kind of unusual party members that aren't just like Turian or
mm.
Solarian.
More
This
races would
is
be
true.
cool too.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a new galaxy, so who knows? Might
Yeah.
find something very interesting out there.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you'll be investigating the I guess the people that prey on the Reapers at this point. I don't know.
Yeah, something other than death robots as your primary enemy would be cool.
That'd
Exactly.
be awesome.
No Geth. None of that.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool. Something completely new threat.
Yeah, yeah.
But not to the galaxy.
Not to the galaxy, just you. They're just specifically hunting you
That'd be
down.
awesome. If they just hunt you down, that would be sweet.
When you
That
go
would
to
be kind
ask
of.
people. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that would be kind of cool if it was like almost like Firefly-esque, and you're just kind of got like a little like Motley
Ooh.
Crew, and you're like
Yeah.
doing jobs, trying to keep yourself afloat.
You are touching on a very, very sensitive place because I know there's a lot of people who would like to see a good Firefly game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would actually enjoy that a lot. That would be great. But, good sirs, it seems that our hour has finally rolled down.
Hmm.
So chat will have to keep their scoop necks and speed runners themselves for right now.
Until next Tuesday.
Until next
Yes,
Tuesday.
indeed.
So we're gonna do a little outro because that's how we do these things. We can't leave without giving everyone the credit. And as it was said, we record on Tuesdays. I will hopefully have this out by Wednesday, as long as my computer does not explode or anything. But it's a good computer, so it probably won't. You can
Yay.
email us any questions or concerns, I guess, to contact.mong@gmail.com. You can find our Mong Twitter account at mong.com, all spelled out. And you can find us on YouTube at Mong Network and Middle of Nowhere Gaming Plays. This will be up on Mong Network hopefully tomorrow, probably midday. I don't know. Depends on how fast my computer wants to work on it. Um,
Yes.
you can also find us on Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram by searching for Mong. And check out our website, middleofnowheregaming.com, for our latest editorials, reviews, news, and even our lovely faces. Not really, our faces aren't really on the website, but you can come here and check them out. So, I am Furious Milk on Twitter. Gentlemen, Adam, who are you on Twitter?
Fanboy_Adam.
There you go. You can follow him there. And
Yep.
Jordan.
The spinning circle is at JL_FLEUR, JL Floor.
Yes. I guess after like 5 podcasts, you won't have to spell it all out. So, normally we would end by us all yelling Mong. I would say keep it milky. I don't know if you all want to do that or come up with our own thing. Just,
One.
just,
We'll workshop this.
yeah, we'll figure this out for next time.
Yeah.
The alarm has officially gone off. It was good.
Mong.
Mong, keep it milky.
No.
It has been a lovely time, folks. You all have a good time and a good week and all that
See you
nonsense.
next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Later. All right.